Boy, oh boy. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. It's nice to have you along for this ride while we're talking about the Phillies splitting their doubleheader with the Washington Nationals, not sweeping their doubleheader with the Washington Nationals. You know, I said it last night on the Fightins postgame show here that, you win game two and all is right with the world. You lose game two, even after winning game one, and you don't feel like everything is right with the world, unfortunately, and especially the manner in which they lost game two. It was after when Bryce Harper hits home runs, you're supposed to win. Few and far between that we see Bryce Harper home runs nowadays. You feel like you're supposed to win. He started to turn it on a little bit, which is a nice sign, but you don't want to waste Bryce Harper home runs. And what was with that lineup in the second game, Rob Thompson? Here's the one thing. I know the lineup people, it's a big thing for the lineup people to come out and criticize the lineup. And I get it. I didn't like the lineup either. But you are playing the Nationals. And they're not a very good baseball team. Like, Alec Boehm shouldn't be the deciding factor as to whether or not you're beating the Nationals. I mean, Stott's still in the lineup. Harper's still in the lineup. Schwarber's still in the lineup. Trey Turner, red hot since the ovation, still in the lineup. Ranger Suarez, one of your better pitchers all year long since he's been healthy. You should be able to beat the Nationals without that, without Alec Boehm. I will say Castro is not a good third baseman. Holy pots and pans. You know what? I could go a long time without him playing third base again. I'd prefer it, as a matter of fact. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather sign Gene Segura, okay? Rather him play second in those games and Bryson Stott move to third. That's what I'd rather say than anything else. Good Lord. How do you not charge that baseball? Anyway, is that. We'll get into it all. We'll get into it all. We'll also get into what Rob Thompson and Craig Kimbrell had to say after the game, because Craig Kimbrell did not think he had that strikeout on Meneses later in that ball game before Meneses hit the long home run to left center field to win the game for the Nationals, and ended up being the game-winning home run. So we'll get into that conversation, of course, as the show goes on. And we'll talk about Kyle Schwarber's season, especially yesterday, getting 29 and 30. Numbers 29 and 30. He's now 30 home runs on the season. Absolutely fantastic to see that for Kyle Schwarber. So we'll get into that conversation as well. And the Philadelphia Eagles, a couple of different things. Our friend Ruben Frank from NBC Sports Philadelphia wrote an article. Now, what were we talking about yesterday? Things Jalen Hurts could improve upon. Things Jalen Hurts could improve upon going into his third year as a starting quarterback, going into a year where he is the third best player in the NFL, according to the NFL's players. Well, we'll get into that conversation and what he needs to work on in the upcoming year. And it got me thinking, after I listened to Brian Johnson's press conference yesterday, about things that Jalen Hurts could do. Well, what about things Brian Johnson could do that could improve upon what Shane Steichen did last year? And I know a lot of people look at points per game. A lot of people look at yards per game. A lot of people look at the overall play of Jalen Hurts and his offense, of course. But there's one thing that I think Shane Steichen, and for the most part, Nick Sirianni as well, could have done better last year. And yes, is it nitpicky? Sure. But I think this falls more on the lap of the offensive coordinator than it does Nick Sirianni, because the offensive coordinator is the play caller. And Nick Sirianni would come out and talk about this one particular thing every single week, it felt like, in regards to Jalen Hurts and trying to keep him healthy. So we'll get into that. Also, Dallas Goedert had two things that he said yesterday that really jumped out to me. One was just his overall praise of Jalen Hurts. And then I literally was watching the clip yesterday. I was watching Dallas Goedert. I was watching A.J. Brown address the media to see if they had any good little nuggets. They were dropping little nuggets of information. And I watched it, and I wasn't able to grab it before the show today, unfortunately. That's why we started a couple of more minutes late than we normally start minutes late. But it was, well, he talked about this computer system that Jalen Hurts brought out to California to get more accurate and work on his stuff and all that stuff. Who the hell has a computer system anymore? Like, it's an iPad, it's a tablet, it's a Surface, it's a phone. A computer system makes it sound like Jalen Hurts is trying to work for NASA while he was working on his accuracy in California. Dallas Goedert did go out there, work out with them a little bit. A.J. Brown said he went out and worked with him again. Now, this is all stuff I want to hear. I always want to hear my quarterback's working. I always want to hear that he's working, putting in the work in the offseason. I always want to hear that. But Dallas Goedert let something slip yesterday, so I was wondering if they edited it out of the press conference when they posted it on Twitter on X after Dallas Goedert addressed the media. So we'll have some fun with all that, and there's a couple of things that definitely stuck out to me regarding Brian Johnson's press conference that we'll just talk about. A couple of things we'll let you hear about as well. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start it off with the Philadelphia Phillies and the unfortunate goings-on. Let me just do this right out of the gate. Here's where we're at after the two-game split in the doubleheader yesterday. Now, I included the teams that are 7.5 games out of the wild card spot right now, simply because the Mets are down there and they're 7.5 games out, and I just like seeing them in the basement of anything. Anyway, the Giants are still 3 games up on the pack. The Phillies are 3 games up on the pack. So there's a dead heat right now for the top spot in the NL wild card. The Chicago Cubs are still in a spot. The Cincinnati Reds are still in a spot. The Marlins, after a win last night, Soler came up with a 2-run home run in the 7th inning to help get a victory for them yesterday. Arizona Diamondbacks are now 500. They're 2 games out of wild card contention, and the San Diego Padres are 4 games out of a wild card spot right now. So that's where they sit. Phillies, before and after the doubleheader, are in the exact same spot. So that's where we sit. Let's talk about Game 1, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 with the Phillies and the Washington Nationals. That was fun. Zach Wheeler started things off by allowing 3 runs in the ballgame by the top half of the 3rd inning. Phillies were able to come back in the bottom half of that inning, thanks to Kyle Schwarber. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Schwarber making things happen for you. So the top half of the 2nd inning, they were down 3-0. Kyle Schwarber stepped up in that bottom of the 2nd inning after a leadoff single from Garrett Stubbs, and he helped the team big time. First off, Bryson Stott came off in that 1st inning with a 3-run home run. Then Meneses came up there, hit a 2-run home run, hit a solo home run with 2 outs. It made it a 4-2 ball game, 4-3 ball game. I'm on the wrong game. What the hell is going on here? No, it's the right game, just my different notes. God, I love doubleheaders. Anyway, Wheeler was taken for 3 runs by the 3rd inning. Then in the 3rd inning, Kyle Schwarber got the 2-run home run, made it a 3-2 ball game. Then Bohm stepped up, made it a 3-3 ball game. So that was pretty awesome to see. And then Kyle Schwarber came up with his 2nd home run of the ball game in the 4th inning, making it a 6-3 game. Cave, how about JAKIB getting the Phillies on the board as well with a 2-run home run after a Trey Turner walk. And then Rojas catch in the 9th inning was fantastic, slamming into the angled wall in center field. You're feeling great. It's an 8-4 win. Zach Wheeler got his 9th win of the season, 95 pitches, 6 innings of work. It's a lot, but that's okay. And the Phillies got the win. Everything was fantastic. 2nd game of this doubleheader. Now, mind you, Vargas hit a 2-run home run to make it a 2-1 2-1 Nationals lead in the 4th inning. Vargas went into the game batting .462 in 13 career at-bats against Ranger Suarez. Went 2 for 3 against Ranger yesterday. That pulled his batting average to an even .500, including that home run against Ranger Suarez. So Vargas has seen Suarez stuff, and he sees it rather well, unfortunately, for the Phillies going into yesterday's game. Trey Turner was able to come out with a 2-out RBI double. That got the Phillies on the board 1-0, so that was great. Vargas came up with that 2-run home run to the 4th inning. Harper then in the 5th inning grabbed the lead for you, made it a 3-2 ball game. And then Trey Turner, with his blazing speed in that 5th inning yesterday, came up with the infield single, stole second base, then came around to score and a Bryson Stott RBI single to right field. It was a 4-2 game. Then Meneses hit a 2-run home run in the 7th. Make it a 4-4 game. And then Meneses came up with a home run in the top of the 9th inning to make it a 5-4 Nationals lead. And that's the way it would end in the 2nd game. A couple of things. One, did anybody watch that game yesterday and think when they saw that, I think it was a 1-1 pitch? When they saw that 1-1 pitch at the top of the zone against Meneses that should have been strike 3, called strike 3, did anybody think, hey, human error is fun? This is fun. Human error is such a great time. Or did people think, what the hell? It's a strike! Because what bothers the hell out of me is, and I say this all the time with baseball because it's so much fun when they do this. Here's a pitch that looks like a strike that's called a ball, then instantly give you that replay that shows you it was in fact a strike, and it's still a ball. Good times. Next pitch, Meneses takes the ball and lifts it into the left center field stands for a game-winning home run. I'm all for robo-umpires, calling balls and strikes. I need that as quick as humanly possible. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to implement it, but I know they have the technology. We all know they have the technology. I am 1,000 billion% for it. I actually got into this conversation last night on Fighting's postgame show on JAKIB Media. People know that there's still going to be an umpire behind home plate, right? Like, you're not taking jobs away from anybody. Everyone understands this, right? Right? You get that? Still got to be a home plate umpire. Still other things to do. We call it, besides balls and strikes, foul tips. Right? There's a foul tip, right? See that? Plays at the plate. Plays going down the first base line. Fair or foul. Little dribblers. All that stuff. Still got to have a home plate umpire. You're not taking anybody's job away. The umpires union can't be like, well, we're losing guys. No. Okay. So I'm all for it. Now, to Rob Thompson and Craig Kimbrell's credit, Rob Thompson didn't care about that pitch that was a strike that was called a ball that should have been strike three on. And he said, that box moves all the time. It's you can't give it that much credit. Yeah, it moves all the time to match the strike zone of the hitter. So I think it does have credit. But anyway, credibility. And then after the game, Craig Kimbrell said he didn't think that he struck out Meneses. Thought it was at the top of his zone, but didn't argue, didn't have a problem. He just threw the next pitch, and he said he made a bad pitch. I think it was a knuckle curve that was down and in. It wasn't down enough. It hung up on I say hung up. It wasn't hung up like it was belt high. You know what I mean? And he just tomahawked it or anything like that. No. It stayed up in the zone a little bit. It looked like Garrett Stubbs was calling for the ball in the middle of the plate, which I don't like. But it ended up being down and in, and Meneses ended up turning on it, putting a good swing on it, ended up being the difference in the ball game. But Craig Kimbrell said after the game, basically no excuses. I didn't feel like I had the strikeout there anyway. Either way, I got to shake it off and make the next pitch. And he did not make the next pitch. He did not like the pitch that ended up in the stands. I don't know too many pitchers that like the ball that ended up in the stands or like the pitch that ended up in the stands. And Craig Kimbrell, you can include him in that bunch. So it does suck that the Phillies, unfortunately, were not able to close out the series, a doubleheader sweep of the Nationals yesterday. If you do look at yesterday's lineup, and to give that to you, looking through it yesterday, you had Castellanos batting second. You still had, everybody moves in this lineup except Kyle Schwarber. Even after 2 home runs, I was like, maybe you give him a day off. Maybe you shake things up. Maybe you'll get a little crazy with this lineup in game 2 of the doubleheader. Maybe Yohan Rojas leads off, huh? Maybe Trey Turner leads off. He was batting 4th in the second game of the doubleheader. So listen to this. You got Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, Turner, Stott. All right? First 5 guys in the order. Although it's not, generally speaking, where they bat, normally. 5 guys, normal guys in the lineup. Then Castro, Cave, Stubbs, Rojas. Rojas was in his normal spot. Schwarber in his normal spot. Castellanos, Harper's in his normal spot. Turner, not normal spot now, at least. I thought he was going to shake things up a little bit. Alec Boehm, obviously not in the lineup, is troublesome. It bothers me. I'd like to see him continue to hit, especially after hitting a home run in game 1 of the series or the doubleheader. I'd like to see that. But for whatever reason, Rob Thompson thought it was not the best course of action. Alec Boehm should have been the difference between you beating the Nationals and you not beating the Nationals. But, every once in a while you play some close games. Game 1 was a lot more comfortable, 8-4. At one point, 8-3 after JAKIB's home run in the 6th inning of game 1. Game 2 should not have been as tight, but it was. I hate to say, Bryce, that Alec Boehm was the difference. But when you're talking about a 1-run ball game, you never know when Alec Boehm can come through for you. You never know. Maybe he's swinging that hot bat. In terms of power, finally, maybe we'll see those power numbers start to go up a little bit more. I mean, he's been red hot from the plate in general, earning the number 2 spot in the lineup. For whatever reason, Rob Thompson just decided to give him that day off. Shouldn't be the difference. When I look at this lineup and I see Castro at third base, I see Cave in left field, or excuse me, at first base, Stubbs behind the plate. Yeah, you might need a little bit more pop than that to beat any major league team, even a team like the Nationals, unfortunately. So that's what bothered me about last night's game, the lineup in general. Castro's misplays didn't come back to bite the Phillies in the ass, fortunately, but still, just it lets you know what kind of third baseman he is right now. Castro didn't charge that ball in the 6th inning. Bases ended up being loaded at that point. Suarez leaves the ball game at that point. Hoffman comes in, gets out of the jam, fortunately, and then gives up the 2-run home run to Meneses to make it a 4-4 ball game in the 7th. So maybe without that up-down, maybe he's a little sharper and doesn't give up that home run. Maybe. But revisionist history, I guess. Phillies will be back at it tonight against the Nationals. 6:40 start time. Catch Fighting's postgame right here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. So make sure you guys check that out as well, because I'll be there hanging out with you guys. Michael Lorenzo will get his first start at Citizens Bank Park as a member of the Phillies. That'll be fun. Look forward to seeing what he does there. He goes up against Gore of the Nationals. We'll give you more on that in our morning rush. As for football's fun, right? Offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. There's a couple of things that he got into yesterday that I found very, very interesting. One was this idea of iron sharpening iron. Somebody asked him yesterday, it might have been Jeff McClain of the Inquirer, asking Brian Johnson about coaching against Sean Desai. And two guys that are new to the role in Philadelphia. Sean Desai obviously has been a defensive coordinator before. Brian Johnson has been an offensive coordinator before, but not at the pro level, at the college ranks. So Sean Desai and Brian Johnson are sharpening each other's iron. They're cutting their teeth, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to being coordinators in the NFL. Sean Desai just 1 year under his belt. Brian Johnson, not so much. These guys are playing a chess match. And he wouldn't come out and say, yes, they're competing with one another. Brian Johnson didn't come out and just say, yeah, they're competing with one another. Obviously, they're doing it in practice, but they're playing the game of chess, right? But Brian Johnson said yesterday, obviously there's always competition, but they are learning from one another. And them trying to dial up plays to outmaneuver the other, to kind of show, hey, who's got a better handle on their new role in Philadelphia, is a fun thing to try to keep track of. Now, no cards were shown yesterday. They weren't trying to outdo each other as far as a war of words or anything like that, anything ridiculous. But I do like at least acknowledging that you two guys are still trying to show that no beats will be missed when it comes to taking over the reins of being either's OC. Whether it's Jonathan Gannon and the defense that had a hell of a year last year, like Jonathan Gannon or not, or it's the offense that with Jalen Hurts and this slew of weapons they have, Brian Johnson's not going to miss a beat either. But one thing that I did really like from yesterday was talking about Jalen Hurts and keeping track of his running. Now, I think this is the right one. I thought I'd label this. It's not there, but let me just make sure this is the right one with Brian Johnson here.
Well, the standard is the standard.
All right, to give you the context here. Speaking of iron sharpening iron, Nick Sirianni wants to make sure that he is coaching up Jalen Hurts and coaching him hard. And we played this cut for you yesterday with Nick Sirianni talking about how that when you can coach your best player the hardest, that really resonates in the locker room. Like, that guy's getting it. I mean, I might get it. Nobody's safe. Everyone's got to be motivated to be at their best at all times. So Brian Johnson was asked about that yesterday, about Nick Sirianni coaching up Jalen Hurts and what his relationship, Brian Johnson's relationship, is like with Jalen Hurts, making sure he's always getting that good coaching.
Well, the standard is the standard. And I think Nick does a tremendous job of, praising you when the standard is met and correcting when the standard is not met. And, Jalen's been around hard coaching his entire life, so that's nothing new to him. And, one thing I think it's very, very important to realize and to understand, it's, sometimes it's just about the message, and what was the message that was trying to get across in that instance. So, those guys have a great relationship, and I think, it obviously helps your team when one of your best players is eager to be coached hard. And, I think that just sets an unbelievable standard for the entire organization.
Everyone's on the same page. Shocker. What was interesting to me about that is that Brian Johnson has to go for the role of the quarterback's coach. The guy, the role of a guy that has known Jalen Hurts since he was 4 years old, to now being the guy that's got to be there either on the sideline or up in the booth. He said he's not sure what he's going to be doing during the season, but preseason game number 1 is going to be there Saturday night against the Ravens. He's going to be there on the sideline, making sure there's all communication there with Jalen Hurts, his offense, and whoever is going to be starting under center, most likely Marcus Mariota. So that's an interesting thing to me. Communication is key, and I would agree with that. I think everybody would, especially when you're a first-time play caller in the NFL. Yes, he's on the college level, but that ain't the pros. He's got to have that tough relationship. And if you remember, not that I am worried about Jalen Hurts' mental makeup, but that's where things started to go really wrong for Carson Wentz, was the coaching behind the scenes and whether or not he was getting that tough coaching to kind of corral him. Good cop, bad cop. Frank Reich, John DeFilippo. What's it going to be like now making that transition with a guy that you've known for a long time? And if you remember, Press Taylor, that name, the OC now, the Jaguars followed Doug Peterson down there. If you remember, Press Taylor's too soft on Carson Wentz, all that stuff. Well, they didn't have a pre-existing relationship like these two. They haven't known each other as long as these two have. And from what I think Carson Wentz was maybe older than Press Taylor, maybe around the same age. This is a little bit of a different scenario. Press Taylor was a Chip Kelly hire, if you remember. So watching it all play out with the head coach and quarterback coach relationship, and now the offensive coordinator relationship, I'm very curious to see how this does work. Because I do think there's one thing in particular that Brian Johnson could do to really help, God forbid, that it could really help Jalen Hurts. And that is limit the amount of times he runs. I think this is Brian Johnson talking about Jalen Hurts and making sure they keep him upright.
Well, we always, take into consideration of how much we're putting him in the harm's way, specifically in the run game. Now, there are some things, that naturally happen throughout the course of a game or throughout the course of a play where, it becomes second reaction football. But Jalen's always had a great feel for, avoiding contact and being able to get himself down in certain situations. So, I think just as he continues to grow and develop as a player, it's really important that he just uses everything he has in his toolbox to make sure that he's playing as well as he can.
We'll get into the second with what Reuben Frank was talking about as far as things Jalen Hurts can improve upon. But you know what the Eagles offensive coordinator can improve upon? The amount of times you are putting Jalen Hurts in harm's way. And I understand the quarterbacks get hurt in the pocket. I understand that it happens. Jalen Hurts last year got hurt scrambling. Little read option play. Which brings me to the point. One thing I don't feel like Shane Steichen or Nick Sirianni had a good grasp of last year was making sure Jalen Hurts wasn't running too much. Was trying to have a good feel of that. Even if Jalen Hurts is doing a phenomenal job of keeping himself out of harm's way, even if he's doing a great job of throwing the ball away, all that stuff. If you're running RPOs, and this is what drove me crazy. A lot of our run game comes from the RPO. Okay, but if you're seeing that Jalen Hurts is keeping the football and trying to run to the outside, if he's reading that defensive end, if he's reading that edge rusher, and that edge rusher is going with the running back, and Jalen Hurts, keeps the ball, reads it at the mesh point, keeps the ball, and then bounces it to the outside, then just a thought. If you see that a lot, like you saw it last year, and you want to call a run play, then perhaps take away the option part of it. Just a thought. Maybe just run the ball. Maybe just, line him up under center. And then he does this thing where he takes the football and he hands it, wait for it, hands it off to a running back. And then you know what they do with it? They run with it. And there's no option there. You just run it. You run the football. Isn't that crazy? I really like Shane Steichen's time here in Philadelphia. I really like Nick Sirianni's time here in Philadelphia. I really like Jalen Hurts here in Philadelphia. I'd like Jalen Hurts to be here almost longer than anybody. Because that means he's healthy, and that means he's producing, and that means he's great. Just run the ball then. If you do a great job tracking it, keeping it, monitoring it. Nick Sirianni even got in that conversation last year. He said, yeah, maybe we just need to dial up a couple of traditional run plays. Yeah, great idea. Just call a run. Who would have thought? If I could do anything different, it would be that. It would be making sure that I am keeping Jalen Hurts as safe as possible. And if I do get the sense that he is taking the read pass option and reading it and making the option, or excuse me, run pass option, and he is taking the run option to himself, then I'd like to see maybe, just a couple of straight up runs. Just a couple of straight up runs. Good old fashioned straight up runs. I'm not saying you need to see 10 of them in times like that, because that's going to be a lot. But, maybe when you see those, and I certainly don't want to take away that ability from Jalen Hurts, or as he says, the thing that makes him embrace the uniqueness of his game. I don't want to take it away, but sometimes there's that internal clock where it's like, I'm counting, internal counter, okay, where I'm like, that's a lot. It seems like that's a lot. Is this a lot? It's still a lot. This is even more than a lot now. He's still doing it. I'd like to see Brian Johnson do that. That's the number one thing I'd like to see him do. Make sure he's keeping Jalen Hurts as safe as possible. After that, it's the same thing I want to see from Jalen Hurts. And it's one of the 5 things that Reuben Frank talked about in his article on NBC Sports Philadelphia about what Jalen Hurts could do. Among the other ones, one of them was accuracy. Can still improve on accuracy. Can still be better with accuracy. That'd be fine. Great. You can always improve on that. Good for you. But the thing that really stuck out to me at the top 5 was throwing to the running backs. And that's going to be on Brian Johnson as much as it's going to be on Jalen Hurts. And it's going to be on Nick Sirianni to have that as part of the game plan. It's going to be up to Brian Johnson to dial it up when needed. But it's also up to Jalen Hurts to feel comfortable in doing that. And I'm not saying he doesn't feel comfortable in doing that. I'm just saying he can see it a little bit more. I think that would help him out tremendously. It would also help his offensive lineman out, because the one time I'll say the thing that Andy Reid said all the time, which was, well, screenplays or those short passes to running backs, they're like runs. Yeah, I understand they're like runs, all right? They're close to the line of scrimmage. They make the defense suck in a little bit more to the line of scrimmage. I get that. I understand that. I'm for that. But I'll say this. The only time I'll really compare them to runs is when your offensive linemen have been blocking all the live-long day pass blocking like they did so many times. God bless you, Trey Thomas. Like your offensive line blocking all the live-long day, and you're still trying to air out the football downfield. Well, if you could have a little dump off, if you could throw to the flat, not even a screen where the offensive lineman got to run more and work hard. No. But you're actually just running wheel routes, whatever it might be. You're running plays to the flat with your running backs, and Jalen Hurts able to hit those guys in stride, get him some yards after the catch. I think that'll be a tremendous thing for this Eagles offense. I think DeAndre Swift, and I also think Kenny Gainwell will be able to do it with some great success in the upcoming season. One last thing I want you to hear from yesterday's press conferences was Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert was on, I think it was the Podfather podcast. Was it Barstool that had him on? I think it was. A couple of weeks ago where he was talking about Jalen Hurts and where he ranks with the quarterbacks in the NFL. And he says, I know a lot of people have him as the top 2. I have him in the top 2, but he ain't number 2. So Dallas Goedert, as you would expect, has his boy, has his guy, has his man. Jalen Hurts is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. Well, he came out as the 3rd overall player in the NFL, according to the NFL Top 100, voted by the players. Well, Dallas Goedert got into this conversation yesterday during his press conference, and here's what he had to say about his guy.
He probably says it better than anybody, but he doesn't care about any of that. He's worried about one thing, and that's winning and becoming a great player. Obviously getting the glory, getting MVP runner-up, all that stuff. Those are accolades that are incredible, and I'm sure he's very thankful for them, but they don't mean anything to him. He's got one thing, and he wants to win. He wants to win Super Bowls. He wants to be a great quarterback that way. Super happy for him. I think he should have been number 1, but I'm just really excited for him and excited to continually watch him grow, because I think he's going to take another step this year, and he's going to have a really, really big year.
Like I said earlier, he did mention that he went out to work out with them. Hurts' computer system, whatever the hell that is, and he thinks he's going to be great again. So that's the reason I play that for you is because I mean, anybody you're working with, don't you want them to have that level of confidence in you? I mean, A.J. Brown, it's funny, man. He was talking about Jalen Hurts' tenacity yesterday. And Dallas Goedert went on and talked at length about his work ethic. Okay, I think we all know that Jalen Hurts has a phenomenal work ethic. And that was the number one reason I had confidence in him going into last year, is because I don't bet against people that have a great work ethic and, even a little bit of talent. Because there's no telling how far those people will go. Jalen Hurts certainly has a boatload of talent and a huge, phenomenal work ethic. But Dallas Goedert talking about it, and then yesterday, A.J. Brown saying that you can't make Jalen Hurts laugh at the NovaCare complex. It's like he'll try to lighten him up and try to chop it up with him a little bit, have himself a good time, and just Jalen Hurts is all business. When he's in the walls of the NovaCare complex, when he's on campus at the NovaCare complex, he's all business. And he's like, I gotta talk to him outside here. I gotta call him outside of the NovaCare complex to get him to chuckle a little bit. Man's on a mission. Hey, look, I know we're not supposed to know this. I know Jalen Hurts doesn't like that we know this, but the lock screen on his phone is him walking off the field in confetti that is falling for somebody else's jubilation. That is a sick pup in the best kind of way. Mental masochist, pushing himself to the nth degree to make sure he can get back there and then have that confetti fall for him. That's my quarterback. A couple other odds and ends from yesterday. John McMullen. By the way, I'll be hosting Birds 365 today. Jody McDonald is off the rest of the week. John McMullen obviously has training camp. John and I will be doing the show on Friday. Tomorrow, Bill Colarulo will be on with me. Or excuse me, today and tomorrow, Bill Colarulo of Legal Hands to the Face will be on. Great guy, great football analyst. We'll be talking all things Birds. But one of the things John McMullen, I think it was John McMullen that asked Brian Johnson yesterday about possible trick plays. Darius Slay interrupted the press conference yesterday and said to Brian Johnson, put me in a wide receiver. And Brian Johnson's like, yeah. So he asked about anybody else. John McMullen asked, anybody else trying to campaign to get touches? And he said, well, Lane Johnson's got a touchdown. Fans want Jordan Mailata to get a touchdown. Don't know if we'll do that. Or get a catch, rather. He's like, we'll see. We'll see what we can work out here. So I thought that was interesting. He also got into the running back room. People are talking about this running back competition. Your three main running backs are going to be Kenny Gainwell, DeAndre Swift, and that other fella, Rashad Penny. Thank you. Jeez. Rashad Penny. Those are going to be your three main running backs. Everyone else, those guys are going to be in the rotation. If Rashad Penny stays healthy, he'll be in the rotation. I don't see there as being a real running back competition. I know that there's technically one. They're really high on Trey Sermon. Okay, good for them. I guess. So I don't really see a big deal going with the running back. I feel like the Eagles are going to be set at the running back. I don't feel like there's going to be a number one back. They're going to have plays called to the skill set, and Brian Johnson said as much yesterday, and I believe him because that's the only thing that actually makes sense. It's not like DeAndre Swift is going to be getting 25 carries a game, and then Kenny Gainwell is going to get 10 catches a game. It's not going to happen like that. Or Rashad Penny, it's not like he's going to get 25 carries a game either. This is going to be a running back by committee. That's going to have a heavy rotation. They used to have a thunder and lightning type of backfield. This is lightning and thud, basically, is what I'll call Rashad Penny. And he's got some lightning to him as well, as long as he stays healthy. So, yeah, those are some other odds and ends being picked up from yesterday. Yeah, that's what I got for you guys as far as the press conferences go from yesterday. One more thing, and I want to mention this before I get into the chat check today. Aaron Nola, there was a report from, I think it was ESPN, that came out about Aaron Nola and a projected 5-year, $110 million contract. 5 years, $110 million contract. Would you do that deal with Aaron Nola? I'm doing that deal for Aaron Nola. I know it might not be popular. I know everybody hates Aaron Nola right now. I'm doing that deal with Aaron Nola. He's having a really bad season. He has a really interesting habit of having a really good year and then a bad year, and then a really good year and then a bad year. Looks like an ace, questionable ace. Looks like an ace, not at all an ace. That's kind of what it looks like. But $22 million over 5 years? Excuse me, $110 million over 5 years, 22 per? I'm not upset with that. I don't think that's a terrible deal at all. I don't know if he's going to get 5 years from the Phillies. I think the Phillies would be a little bit cautious. This could be a situation going into the offseason with Aaron Nola that is similar to Zach Eflin, where it's like, all right, we think we've taken you as far as we can go. We know how good you are. We also know how bad you can be, how average you can be. Are we really going to make that investment? Although we know you have the potential to be good, to be great even, to finish in the top 5, top 3 Cy Young Award voting. That's pretty damn good. But do we trust you to do it consistently for $110 million over the next 10 or over the next 5 years? I don't know if the Phillies are going to go 5 years. That might be a little sheepish with Aaron Nola. I'm curious to see what comes out, but I did see that number and I was like, that's not terrible. That's not mega huge Kajunga ace money. And he's not a mega huge Kajunga ace, so he doesn't, justify that cash. But that's not a terrible price. $22 million for a front end starter. Most of the time, like a front end starter. So I saw that deal yesterday, and I went, it's not terrible. Not terrible. I could see the Phillies offering him something in that ballpark. That's the reason I bring it up. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Phillies have already offered. Well, after this year, they might get a little bit of a discount. So there you go. That's what I'll end the front part of the show on. Let's get into the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars. SkyMotorcars.com. Before I get to the morning rush, let's get to the chat check. What am I saying? Chat check. What's going on here? Mihai Sanchez, Hoffman and Kimbrel concern me a bit. Whenever you give up home runs, you're not going to look good. For the most part, Hoffman's been good this season. Kimbrel's been good this season. But Kimbrel now is the point of the season that I really worry about. Craig Kimbrel's at an age now where you do start to worry about breaking down, and the Phillies have already confirmed that they're worried about him breaking down because of the amount of innings he's already logged and the amount of times you've seen different guys, whether it be Sir Anthony Dominguez or that be Gregory Soto, out there trying to close out games for this ball club. So with Craig Kimbrel not getting as many opportunities as he once did, they're keeping an eye on it. They're worried about him leaking oil. Now or leaking gas. Here's the thing. He had Meneses struck out. That was a strike. The next pitch was obviously a home run, a game-winning home run. But I thought he came out firing. Was he hitting 97, 98 miles per hour with his fastball? No. Him and Taijuan Walker seem to be going through a bit of a dead arm period right now. The knuckle curve definitely hung up there a little bit for the home run. That hasn't been as crisp as what we have seen. But you look at those other two batters, 2 of the 3 batters that he faced in that inning. He comes out there against Thomas. He gets him looking at a fastball, 2-2 fastball, right over the middle of the plate. Thomas was thinking knuckle curve. Kimbrel did not go there. He went with the fastball. Then he gives up the home run to Meneses. An 0-2 fastball was called high. It goes 1-2 count. And then he able to hit the 4th pitch, a knuckle curve, 394 feet to left field. Then he gets Ruiz to strike out, and he gets Garrett to line out to right field. He looked good, except for that one pitch. Now, sometimes that's all it takes. A lot of times for a closer, especially in a situation like that, a tie ball game, that is all it takes. 5-4. That was the end of it. But yeah, I'm not as concerned about Hoffman. I think Hoffman is what he is. He's going to look sharp at times, and he's going to look not so sharp. Craig Kimbrel is the one I'm worried about because if he goes in the tank, it's like, all right, does that Gregory Soto become the insurance policy to be your closer? And by the way, I will say this, both sides. Derek Thomas yesterday, the home plate umpire for game 2. 7th inning, he just started making up strikes. Just started making up, strike. Ball. Like, he just started making up balls and strike calls. That weren't balls and strikes in the earlier goings of the ball game, which was disappointing to see that. Where else am I at here? What is happening? Here we go. Sean Kilrain, damn Kimbrel serving up home runs. Kimbrel throwing some meatballs lately. I'm worried. Sean Gillespie, our robot overlords will be in baseball soon. A Philly rated Poppy, what's up? Death taxes and Phillies struggle in second game of a doubleheader. Is that a thing? Have I missed that story? Where the Phillies just can't play in game 2 of a doubleheader? Oh, we got to play 2 of these? It's not even that nice a day. Boop. These umpire strike zone is horrendous, says Sean Kilrain. It definitely screws up the game for sure. I concur. How many more games did the Phillies win this season? Rocking with Raul. You have a 3-month-old baby? I got all shirts for her. Phillies and Sixers only searching for Eagles. Okay, what? No Flyers sweaters for her? First off, happy birthday. Congratulations to the little one. How many more games will the Phillies win this season? I don't know what they're on pace for, but 95? 93? I don't even know. Enough to make the playoffs. Let's put it that way. Enough to make the playoffs. I said before the season, 98 wins. This is what I said. People are like, you crazy. And I'm like, oh, I think they can do it. Sean Gillespie, those hits on Hurt should affect Brian Johnson as if he was hitting his own son. Not him hitting. As if it was hitting his own son. I like that. There you go. Yeah, think of it like that. Mihai Sanchez, Hoffman and Kimbrel concern me. Yep, I concur. Sean Kilrain. Oh, wow. Dallas Goedert looks like Andrew Luck. I could see that. Sean Kilrain, what is this? A proposed trade for Aaron Donald? Eagles receive Aaron Donald. Los Angeles receives 2024 first-round pick and 2024 second-round pick. Would I do that for Aaron Donald? Yes. Well, you might not need Aaron Donald. Was that somewhere? Is that something come out here? One more question. Running back by committee, you know, Farzy, so much skills, so much skill sets, so many skill sets. Absolutely. April, money and numbers are good with Nola, but I don't think he has 5 years left in him. Woof, boy. Maybe 3-4 year deal. Yeah, that's more so where I'm on the same page with you guys as far as that goes. Darius Young on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. What's going on? Baseball, football, baseball, yawn, football, devil. Wait, is that a devil on a candle? Okay, now you're kind of freaking me out. Dev, ability to challenge a call. Not sure it already exists, but if not, then it should. Maybe get game 2 a game. Oh, Robo-Lumps. Okay. Robert, what's going on? Robert Jaskulski. Jaskulski? Kulski? Yakshimash. Anyway, Jalen needs to be told not to wear no sleeves in 4 below. Don't wear sleeves in 4 below. The game he got hurt? Okay. Well, Jalen needs to be told not to wear no sleeves in 4 below the game he got hurt. Okay. Dev, what's up, Dev? Honestly, think it will change. Swift will be a difference maker. They will want to feed him. I hope so. Daz does not want Aaron Nola on that deal. Thinks I'm nuts. Laugh out loud. Could have signed Lucas Giolito, excuse me. Trevor Bauer for way less. Yeah, but they didn't. Anyone think we could get Aaron Donald? I think there's no chance. I would welcome him, but no shot. I mean, I'd welcome him too. I just don't think that's where they're going to go. Always a shot with Howard. Okay. Howie Roseman. Thank you, Daz. Daz, not giving up. No first-round pick with him. Age 32, that contract for sure. Yeah, that's a troublesome thing. That's a problem. I don't know what Miles Jack or Zach Cunningham are going to bring to the table here other than veteran leadership and knowledge to the position. Again, yesterday, Nakobe Dean was not out practicing with the team. A.J. Brown did talk about Zach McPherson, who he had some experience with in Tennessee. Said he's a baller. He'll be an impact player for the team. I think you could have some rotation there, obviously, at the linebacker position. I don't think anyone's really going to be coming in here truly competing for a job. Yes, they will be competing. Yes, there will be competition. Yes, that's all part of training camp, blah, blah, blah. Nakobe Dean is going to be your starting middle linebacker. Nakobe Dean is going to be your starting middle linebacker in week 1. Now, goes out there, fails. Well, then now you got some other guys that can go in there. I see the Eagles looking at this linebacker position as if they look at how they looked at defensive tackle last year. All right, make sure we get some veterans in here, guys that know what they're doing. We're going to have some guys try to get their feet wet and make sure that they can take off and have if they need a little bit of a learning curve, we'll have other guys to go in there and take some reps. They'll have that in McPherson. They'll have that in Miles Jack. Nakobe Dean has a little bit of struggle to have other guys to put in there. It's the same type of thing with Jordan Davis. Struggle come back from an injury. Look, he got Linval Joseph and he got Ndamukong Suh. That's the way they're looking at it now. Now with the defensive tackle position, you got Fletcher Cox, you got Milton Williams, and then you have Jalen Carter, then you have Jordan Davis. So they're pretty set right there at that position. They have guys that can rotate in. Edge rusher, whether that's be guys with their hand in the dirt, guys like Josh Sweat or Brandon Graham, they have guys that can do that. Whether it's guys on the outside, whether it's Nolan Smith, or it's Hassan Reddick. They got guys that can do that. The thing that's concerning is linebacker because you don't know what he can do yet. I like Nakobe Dean. I've said before, if I'm buying stock in a linebacker, I'm buying stock in Nakobe Dean. Now he's got to go out there and prove it. Hopefully he'll be healthy enough. I doubt it, but they'll have him turn around and play on Saturday. But hopefully he's back on the practice field sooner rather than later. Love to see that. Be crossing my fingers for it. Something else I'll be crossing my fingers for is to how fast Saturday night can get here. With the Eagles kicking off against the Ravens in preseason game number 1. The preseason, the Ravens, they don't lose, baby. Looking forward to seeing the Eagles dethrone them as the greatest preseason team ever. But I do look forward to seeing Sidney Brown out there at the safety position. I do look forward to seeing if K'Wan Wallace will get those first team reps out there. If Terrell Edmonds, a veteran, doesn't play in the preseason. So those are two things already on this Wednesday morning that I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the Eagles are going to do on Saturday. I don't think Dallas Goedert will play. I doubt any starters will really play. Any known starters will really play. So these are all things that I'm just waiting to cross off the list to see what goes on for the Philadelphia Eagles in preseason game number 1 on Saturday. One more thing. Going into tonight's game, Phillies are getting the Michael Lorenzen 6:40 start time against Mackenzie Gore. Gore, a left-handed pitcher. He enters the game at 6-8 on the season with a 4.34 ERA. 24-year-old lefty. I don't feel like he has faced the Phillies already this season. He has. It did not go well for him. 2 innings, 2 2/3 back on July 1st. 7 runs, all of them earned on 6 hits. He gave up 1 long ball in 2 2/3 innings of work. It was the game the Phillies won 19-4. Phillies also took it for 3 runs in a winning effort back on June 3rd. 6 innings, 3 runs, 9 hits in that one. So this game will mark the 3rd time Mackenzie Gore has started against the Phillies this season. So the Phillies look forward to facing the lefty as they've had success in both starts against him so far this season. As for Michael Lorenzen, I mean, who could forget his debut with the Phillies? Goes 8 innings against the Miami Marlins to handle the business. The righty went 8 innings. He's 6-7 on the season with a 3.48 ERA. And he had 6 strikeouts, and everything was really working for him in that start in the 8 innings that he went out there. Just 2 earned runs surrendered on those 6 hits. He did allow a home run and issue 1 walk. Sorry, 5 strikeouts, not 6 strikeouts. 6 hits, 5 strikeouts. So it'll be the first time that Michael Lorenzen is making a start in a Phillies uniform at Citizens Bank Park. So I look forward to that game tonight. Hopefully Phillies get that victory. Hey, folks. If you miss me, don't miss me too much. I'll be right back in this seat at 8 o'clock today with John McMullen for Birds 365. I'll be filling in for Jody McDonald. Then I'll be joined by Bill Colarulo of legal hands to the face. We're breaking down the birds further, including some worries that Bill has regarding the Eagles and a unit that we really haven't talked about a lot so far this off season. And then I'll be back with you guys again tonight. I just really love talking sports with you. What can I say? On the JAKIB YouTube channel for Fighting's post-game show, hopefully after the Phillies take game 3 of this 4-game series against the Nats. And maybe, who knows, improve another game in the standings, in the wild card standings. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a wonderful job as per usual. My name is Mark Farzy. Talk to you guys in a bit. See ya.